Geoengineering, and Chemtrails. A new warning of deadly ozone layer collapse. From a former NASA engineer. Global climate engineering programs continue to destroy the planet's life support systems, including the ozone layer. The former NASA aerospace avionics engineer who has been working directly with Geoengineering Watch has issued an even more dire report on the unfolding ozone layer collapse. He has continued his ongoing UV radiation monitoring efforts with state-of-the-art UV metering equipment supplied by geoengineeringwatch.org. Those who are most aware of their surroundings have long since taken note of the growing intensity of the sun. This change is not due to increased solar activity, rather, it is a dire symptom of Earth's rapidly disintegrating ozone layer. Geoengineering Watch has issued previous warnings of the rapidly increasing UV radiation. Though there are many anthropogenic factors negatively impacting the life-sustaining ozone layer, ongoing covert climate engineering programs are mathematically by far the most damaging. Many mainstream and official sources falsely claim that the southern hemisphere ozone hole is recovering, in order to pacify populations. However, frontline data does not support the ozone recovery official narrative. Since the start of this century, UV levels comparable to the surface of Mars have been recorded. The same sources of false ozone layer recovery data do not even mention the massive and growing northern hemisphere ozone hole. Mainstream media, and all official sources of UV data, have done their best to completely hide the already extreme UV radiation dangers in the northern hemisphere. The impacts of the extreme UV radiation exposure is very evident on the sun-exposed side of many tree species. All life forms that are exposed to the increasingly excessive UV radiation are being affected, including whales and plankton. Effects of solar UV radiation on biomolecules, cellular components and physiological responses. Diagram credit, Royal Society of Chemistry. If the ozone layer completely collapses, all exposed life forms will collapse with it, terrestrial and aquatic. Climate engineering is decimating the ozone layer, all of Earth's life support systems are at risk. The latest dire report below, addressing extreme UV radiation dangers, was assembled for geoengineeringwatch.org by a retired NASA aerospace avionics engineer who is working exclusively with us. Out of concern for his safety, we must keep this individual anonymous at this time. UVC radiation today and the end of all life. Anonymous title. Selected for exactly that reason, to wake you up. Denial of this fact will soon be gone as the food supplies vanish. Famine, starvation, sickness, disease. Hey, it's here now. Too late for many species already, and we're losing an average of 200 more every day. The author has studied the upper ozone layer in detail since 1994, while involved in a high-altitude atmospheric research project at the NASA Ames Dryden Flight Research Center at Edwards AFB. Initially, the research seemed trivial. Why would anyone spend so much money to go so high, just to get numbers from atmospheric sensors? Many scientists in this program were asked this very question, and the consensus among scientists was that something was going wrong with the upper ozone layer, and we intend to find out why. If you do an internet search on UVC radiation and try to find credible information from a well-known university or other official source, be prepared to discover disinformation, like, UVC radiation never reaches the Earth's surface. So, finding maximum radiation dosages in direct sunlight is difficult, and when you do find someone with UVA/B/C measurements, what do those numbers really mean? It's difficult to understand the authenticity of this information. How do you know the info is correct? Simply put, you don't. The National Institute of Standards and Technology tries to be helpful here. They have established methods and reference standards that provide comparison and correlation of various manufactured sensors and meters, so that the data gathered from those meters has a traceable and verifiable meaning. Start out at NASA GSFC, short for Goddard Space Flight Center, and look up ozone. This is one place to investigate, but remember, This is a government website, so the information has been tailored for the public. GSFC did one very good thing. They linked UVC radiation to DNA/RNA damage, and suggested that a 1% change in the upper ozone layer gives a 2% change on the Earth's surface. Think about that. What it should say is, whatever change happens to the upper ozone layer, the effects are twice the amount on the Earth's surface. You must pay close attention to scientists. Their degree was not in English or communication. Understanding the full meaning of what's being said can be difficult at best. So, next you want to find data that shows how much harmful UVC radiation is at the Earth's surface. But the search comes up empty. The only info you can find is from individuals with handheld meters, and no actual data other than the readings displayed on the meter. Try to find Earth's surface UVC data. It doesn't exist, except at one website, Geoengineering.org. The charts presented are from the ILT 950 UV spectral radiometer, and has traceable calibration to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. The data gathered by the ILT 950 UV and presented in surface chart form is untouched by any software programs other than the Microsoft Excel surface chart. An average of 90,000 data points are displayed on each of these charts to give a visual understanding of harmful UV radiation from 250 to 300 nanometers. The emphasis for the chart is multifold. The colors have been selected to mean that when you are in the yellow, you are being radiated with 0.9 to 1.0 microwatts per square centimeter of energy. The other colors in the spectrum on the chart illustrate even more extreme UV radiation exposure dangers. Maximum radiation dosage levels are referenced to time. The time factor for this chart is per hour. The maximum recommended exposure level of UVC at 270 nanometers. This chart shows yellow from 0.8 microwatts per square centimeter to 0.9 microwatts per square centimeter, noting that if exposed to this level for even 1 hour you have exceeded the maximum recommended level of exposure. The maximum exposure levels were established to mean that if exceeded, irreversible damage to DNA/RNA and tissue has occurred on unprotected skin and eyes. The additional graph color spectrum reveals even more extreme UV exposure dangers. Why is this important? No standards have been set for solar radiation exposure levels in this UV spectrum. They don't exist because all agencies involved with solar radiation levels claim solar UVC radiation never reaches the Earth's surface. This statement is a blatant and dangerous lie. Reference UVC radiation levels have been established, not for solar radiation, but for man-made UVC sources intended for DNA/RNA gene splicing, research, and other applications. The maximum UVC radiation, specifically 270 nanometer, level is to not exceed 0.1 microwatts per square centimeter for 8 hours. That's 1/1000th of a watt over a square centimeter for an 8-hour period. It is important because our DNA/RNA has a harmonic resonance to 270 nanometers, and radiation from the sun at this frequency will tear apart the physical strands. All life-form DNA/RNA exhibit this same reaction. With humans, the sensitivity to this frequency is 9,000 times greater than any other frequency in the solar spectrum. So, we already have more than a 10-fold UVC level over the maximum dosage rate. The function and design of the ILT 950 UV spectral radiometer was researched at great length prior to purchase, with a radiometer sent from the factory and tested at Mount Hamilton Observatory in 2016. The data gathered was analyzed and found to be accurate, and of major concern. UVC levels of 1.7 microwatts per square centimeter were measured. Do the math. The maximum dosage level per hour is 0.8 microwatts per square centimeter/hour, 0.1 microwatts per square centimeter times 8 hours, so 1.7 microwatts per square centimeter 8 equals 13.6 microwatts per square centimeter/hour, or 17 times the maximum dosage level. This author has confronted a major scientist with the NASA Source program, and the subject of 270 nanometer radiation levels measured at Earth's surface were discussed. That scientist responded by saying your data is a result of stray light. UVC radiation is attenuated completely by the upper ozone layer and the atmosphere. This scientist denied the data presented through emails, and all phone and internet communication was terminated with the author. Again, denial. Okay, fine. Go outside, and feel the sun on your skin. Does it feel hotter than normal? It is. If you can deny this, then there is no method available to teach you otherwise. Your perception of reality is wrong. Scientists always want to quantify things, and this is okay, for the most part, but don't get so involved with the measurements and data that you lose perspective on that is going on around you. The Great Barrier Reef is almost completely dead. Mass die-offs of whale, dolphin, seal, bird and plant, insect, and algae, and plankton, the cornerstones of our food supply. Hey, these things are vanishing now. How about those scientists having something to do with a solution, like, first of all, stop all geoengineering? This engineer is dedicated to the preservation of all life on planet Earth. UVC data charts will be provided for as long as humanly possible, in color you know and understand. Yellow is warning, red is danger, everything above red, well, it won't matter for long, because neither you nor I will be here. My sincere thanks go to Dane Wigington, and all those who support him with the efforts of geoengineeringwh.org. Former NASA avionics aerospace engineer. So many in academia have chosen their paychecks and pensions over their sense of morality, virtue, and honor. There is an epidemic of moral bankruptcy and willful blindness as so many experts in the environmental and human health sciences look the other way, so to speak. If there were only a few more with the fortitude and courage this former NASA engineer has shown, the horizon would perhaps not be nearly so dark as it is. I wish to express my deepest gratitude to him and am very grateful for his ongoing efforts. Each and every one of us that is already awake and aware must forge forward in the battle to reach a critical mass of public awareness regarding the climate engineering crimes. If and when we can accomplish this, we would provide those in academia enough support so that they may yet find their courage and join the effort to sound the alarm. We must all take action today. Tomorrow will be too late.